Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But in a sense, what we are discussing here is actually not even covered in Srimad Bhagavatam. So these topics are way too advanced. And it's a little bit hard to present them. So I will read the verses. There are quite a few verses. You can see 101, 105. And we can, in unison, sing the last verse. Shastra Shlokina Artha Karite Prakasha Prathamika Yase Shlokira Abhasa Avatari Prabhu Pracharil Sankirtan E Bhaihete Purve Kariyacha Suchan Avatarir Ara Eka Achyamukha Bija Rashi Krishikara Krishner Say Karya Nija Ati Gundi Heti Say Trividha Prakara Damadar Svarupa Haite Yahara Prachara. And together. Svarupa Gasani Prabhu Ara Ranga Tahai Jane Prabhu E Sava Prashanga Sarupa Gasani Prabhu Ati Antaranga Tahe Jane Prabhu E Sava Prasanga. Okay. Rupakasani Prabhura Chirantaranga Tahira Janira Prabhura Seva Vasanga. Sarupakasani Prabhura Chirantaranga Tahire Janira Prabhura Seva Prasanga. Ladies, Sarupa Gasani Prabhu Achi Antaranga Tahare Janere Prabhu Reshava Prashanga. So I'll read the translation of the verses that I read. To explain the sixth verse, I shall first give a hint of its meaning. The Lord came to propagate Sankirtan. That is an external purpose. Eho Bahya Hetu, external purpose. As I have already indicated, there is a principal cause, Buddha Hetu, for Lord's appearance. It grows from his own engagements as the foremost enjoyer of loving exchanges. That most confidential Ati Gudha cause is threefold. Svarupa Damoda has revealed it. Svarupa Goswami is the most intimate associate, Ati Antaranga of the Lord. He therefore knows all these topics well. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Prior to Lord's acceptance of the renounced order, Purushottama Bhattacharya, a resident of Navadvip, Jai Shri Radha Gopinath, desired to enter the renounced order of life. Therefore, he left home and went to Benares, where he accepted the position of brahmacharya from a Mayavadi sannyasi. When he became a brahmachari, he was given the name Shri Damodar Swarup. He left Benares shortly thereafter without taking sannyas, and he came to Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, where Lord Chaitanya was staying. He met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there and dedicated his life for the service of the Lord. He became Lord Chaitanya's secretary and constant companion. He used to enhance the pleasure potency of the Lord by singing appropriate songs, which were very much appreciated. Svarupa Damodara could understand the secret mission of Lord Chaitanya. And it was by his grace only that all the devotees of the Lord Chaitanya could know the real purpose of the Lord. And Prabhupada adds, it's a quote from Bhaktivedanta Saraswati's commentary, Svarupa Damoda has been identified as Lalita Devi, the second expansion of Radharāṇī. However, the text 160 of Kavi Karnapura authoritative Gaur Ganadesh Tipika describes Svarupa Damodara as the same as Vishakha Devi, who serves the Lord in Galoka Vrindavan. Therefore, it is to be understood that Sri Svarupa Damodar is a direct expansion of Radharāṇī, who helps the Lord experience the attitude of Radharāṇī. I will read a little bit more about Svarupa Damodar, and in the end, we will have probably some additions or questions, or both, from devotees. Thank you so much for coming. By the way, it's very hard to get here because there's so many things going on in Radhadesh, so many different kinds of yoga, so many different kinds of activities, and it's a day after Rath Yatra and after big storm. Thank you so much, Giriva Prabhu, that you came. I really appreciate it as well. So I will just read a little bit. Srila Prabhupada would often dwell on the intimate nature of Lord Chaitanya's dealings with his closest associates. He would explain that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is independent and self-sufficient, he becomes a voluntary prisoner of love of his own Antaranga devotees. Among all the devotees who accompanied Lord Chaitanya during his final Antya-lila pastimes in the Gambhira, none was more essential or intimate than Svarupa Damodara Goswami. Srila Prabhupada described how Svarupa Damodara, who is in this verse of Adi Lila is called Svarupa Goswami, functioned as Lord's personal secretary, managing every detail of his daily life. He attended to Lord's baths, his meals, his rest. He even performed intimate service of massaging his body. Yet his role was far more than that just of a domestic assistant. He was the gatekeeper of Lord's internal ecstasies. During these years, when Lord was deeply immersed in the internal moods of the gopis, or the mood of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, feeling separation from Krishna, Sri Svarupa Damodara would taste those same mellows alongside him. He was so well versed in the intricate science of rasa and tattva that he would perfectly harmonize his singing and recitation, very specific verses, with Lord's emotional states. And even more than that, he was the carrier of the Siddhanta and its representative to others in Puri. You know this you probably heard the story, it's Anjalila's story. But Lord Chaitanya was so pure that he did not tolerate any theological discrepancy or mundane sentiment in his own presence. So Srila Prabhupada, uh, in lectures and also in the end, at end of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he recalls this history of a Brahmana by the name Mishra, Pradyumna Mishra. He was from East Bengal and he traveled to Puri. It's a long travel. You have to go across the frontiers of a battlefield between Bengal and Puri. And he brought with him a book of poetry, and he has written it in praise of Lord Chaitanya. And the story is told in the Anjalila, but it's interesting that the established system was that no literature could be presented to Lord Chaitanya unless it was first sanctioned personally by Svarupa Damoda. And upon examining the work, and is described in great detail in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Svarupa Damodara detected a very serious error. He was very critical. The writer has distinguished between the wooden form of Lord Jagannath and living form of Lord Chaitanya, two different forms. And with very serious, sharpness, with transcendental sharpness, Svarupa Damodara chastised him and reminded him the essence of the philosophy and how it is different from Mayavadi philosophy. It's amazing that nobody else detected it. It's quite amazing because like everybody was there, all the close associates of the Lord, and Svarupa Damodara was so sharp and so in tune with Siddhanta that he could detect it, and then he gave him instructions which are really the foundation for everybody who even speaks or learns Bhagavatam or interested in Bhakti Yoga in general. And that is the core instruction that Prabhupada instituted in ISKCON actually. If you want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, you must study it from the person Bhagavatam. The realized devotee whose life is Bhagavatam itself. Yeah, it's really important purpose. And he wanted, and Prabhupada wanted as well, that literature produced by those who are not strictly in this internal antaranga line is like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. It becomes poisonous and it leads to spiritual death. It has an opposite effect. Milk usually, what is the effect of the milk? What Giriva Prabhu, if you take a little bit of milk at night, it actually rejuvenates you. It makes you healthy, isn't it? But if you had the same milk, we don't have that around here. But if, say, copra just went around and just touched it a little bit, then the same milk becomes a poison. It's interesting how it looks the same. It tastes the same. You will die from it. It's amazing, actually. There is another story about. It's a very sarcastic remark by one leader in 1987. At that time, Braj Bihari was called Arjuna and Prabhu, and then he was sent to, with another devotee, Ravindra Swarup, he was sent to New Vrindavan to see, after the expulsion of the leader, what was going on. So, Ravindra Swarup didn't come up for the morning program, but Braj Bihari did, and he was sitting there at the back of Srimad Bhagavatam class and listening, taking notes. He was supposed to report. So after the class, a little bit controversial leader. A little bit, I'm saying it probably is very controversial, but he was quite confident in himself. And he came after the class and he said, very interesting remark. And there was Braj Bihari says, it was very smart. He says, so how is the milk touched by the serpent? How does it taste? Because he was sitting there, he knew that he was sent there to examine him. So he asked him, so how does it taste? And it's sarcastic, of course. As soon as you use sarcasm, you're not taking very seriously this instruction that you have to very strictly listen to the pastimes and leelas from really self-realized, strictly following people. If you don't, then it can be an opposite effect. And at the time, it sounded like a joke in 1987. But in 1994, it was not a joke anymore. And Srila Prabhupada would reflect on how the intimacy between Lord Chaitanya and his very close associates was not just a physical proximity. He actually said that Svarupa Damoda was very personification of Lord's internal pleasure potency. Now, this is the conclusion of this purport, that in one place it says that he is Lalita Sakhi, and another place it says that he is Vishaka Sakhi. So it's in two different identities. Is he like both? And the conclusion of this purport is that he is the personification of the internal potency, or Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī herself. So he is the expansion of Radharani who helps Lord who wants to understand the mood of Radharani. And that is quite a challenging idea, I have to say, because many devotees who try to figure out, they could even argue. Somebody will say, no, it's Ramananda Roy, he is incarnation of this Shakti, Shakti, and Svarupa Damodara is an incarnation of another Shakti. But that's not actually the Siddhanta that Bhaktivedanta Saraswati presented. He was not, this is not the essence. Essence is that Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī's emanation or her presentation is there, guiding Lord himself, who is experiencing the taste of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī's service and separation. And it's interesting that this verse and the previous verse, remember Mother Bhagavati, she was mentioning that this is the 5th verse of the Adi Lila 1.5. It's basically Adi 1.5 is the essential verse. And we were discussing this verse, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shakti Asmat. So the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency, Hladini Shakti. So he composed that verse. And now we are switching to the next verse, to the 6th verse. And the whole continuation of this chapter will be explanation of the 3 internal reasons that, I talk to many devotees. It's really hard to understand those reasons. The distinctions are so subtle that I wonder, will I ever understand them till the end? But it is in one verse, Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahimo Kidrishu Vana Yiva Swadhyo Yena Bhuta Madhurimon Kir Drisho Vamadhya Sokyam Kasyam. So we will discuss all these things. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, Prabhupada translates. The wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love. And The happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. The Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared in the womb of Śrīmatī Sachi Devi as the moon appears from the ocean. So this is one shloka written in Sanskrit by such a close associate to Lord Chaitanya. He's explaining pretty much the essence of that nobody else in our sampradaya revealed. Only he did. This, has so many associates of Lord Chaitanya. They never gave this knowledge. This knowledge was passed in a very intimate atmosphere, not from a big Vyasasan to a crowd of sages, not in a royal court. It was passed in a very, it's almost unofficial, you could say, unofficial way that Krishna Das Kaviraja Goswami received that knowledge. How that happened, I will explain in a simple terms. It's just the history of it. It's just a literal what happened. There was once a devotee was made by Nityananda, and he was very, very, very rich devotee. When you make a devotee, you're preaching and you're giving books out, isn't it? And when you meet somebody and somebody says, I want to become a devotee, and you say, oh, great, they're happy. But then somebody joins the temple, and then you figure out that he's actually the son of the owner of Durvi, for example, a rich American businessman's owner. And, you think, oh my God, can you imagine what the catch is that? We'll make so much preaching because we have such an influential person. So Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, he was the son of a very important zamindar, meaning, just zamindar, what it is. It's like, it's like the top level of the what we call today the billionaire club or trillionaire club. His wealth was hundreds of times wealth of England at the time, if you count a gold equivalent. So it's really, really the whole kingdom of England. It was really poor compared to this one person, and his son became a devotee. And to avoid this huge disaster, which can actually destroy so many devotees' lives, when Raghunatha Das Goswami was instructed by the Lord says, don't do anything. Pretend that you're not a devotee. Just pretend for a while that it's like a wife who has a lover, he said. She will do everything perfectly at home so that he will not get discovered. So in the same way, just practice your bhakti, but don't tell anybody. Don't rush. Don't do anything stupid. It didn't really help so much the enthusiasm of this young devotee. So when he received mercy of Nityananda, which was just a little kick in the chest, he fed so many Vaishnavas who were escaping terrible ordeal towards the east. So then when he actually received the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he escaped his home. Even though he's Diksha Guru, he was disciple of Advaita Acharya, he was personally guarding him. He escaped the home, went unknown road, which nobody knew, to Jagannath Puri. And when he arrived to Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya is faced with a dilemma. He doesn't want to send him back, obviously. And at the same time, he cannot make him his own associate. It will become a PR disaster. His own communications, they're going to call Lord Chaitanya and says, can you please stop this preaching? This is really destroying our movement. So he did something which has two sides of the reason. At the same time, he kept him in Jagannath Puri, but he, at the same time, didn't let him close to himself. He said that you're not going to be my servant, my associate. You're going to be associate of Svarupa Damoda. So it's only exceptional situations where one of the Thank you for coming. Come in, please. Lord, look at the Lord. uh, it's the only situation where one of 6 Goswamis doesn't have official direct relationship with Lord Chaitanya. But when he was servant of Svarupa Damoda, in those situations where he was helper of the secretary, he would learn much more than those who were in direct contact with Lord Chaitanya. Of course, he wasn't sitting there on the Ganga and receiving instructions on, avatars or rasa tattva from Lord Chaitanya, like Rupa and Sanatana did. But by not receiving instructions directly from the Lord, he received much deeper instructions from personification of Lardini Shakti himself, from Svarupa Damodara. And he became the prayojana acharya of our sampradaya. He didn't initiate many disciples. He lived in Radhakund when he came to Vrindavan, but he had one very close friend who was also in very unofficial relationships with him. And this very close friend of his and disciple, Shiksha disciple, as Prabhupada writes, he was Shiksha disciple of Svarupa Damoda. So he was a Shiksha guru of Krishna Das Kaviraja Goswami. And he delivered him in the shlokas, these tattvas, the leelas, that nobody else knew. Nobody knew in Vrindavan about the antaranga relationships of Lord Chaitanya. Nobody actually was aware of it. Just like so many devotees are around, like Lord Chaitanya, but they didn't get the subtle Mayavada tinge in that poetry of Brahmana, qualified Brahmana from Bengal. In the same way, so many people practice very intense bhakti from many traditions in Vrindavan. At that time, there were already many traditions in Vrindavan, but none of them had this confidential information that Krishna Das Kaviraja Goswami gives in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada emphasized, by following the footsteps or footprints of such intimate associates, we can also hope one day to enter the ocean of transcendental rasa that is so expertly navigated. Can you imagine the fortune of Krishna Das Kaviraja Goswami? He was so blessed. And interestingly enough, devotees didn't know these things until Chaitanya Charitamrita came out. It's almost post-mortem publishing of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He, practically speaking, didn't live even a few days after Charitamrita was written. So, but devotees noticed in Vrindavan that the way he presents Krishna Lila shows that he is so advanced. Where did he get this knowledge? Where did he get to understand this rasa so expertly? And then they asked him to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, at the same time, there is a tendency to cheaply, and I already revealed the intent of what I was to say, cheaply, to approach pastimes of Krishna and actually approach Lord Chaitanya cheaply. Now, what means cheaply? It means I don't want to pay the price. I don't want to get the real thing. I will settle for an imitation. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was living at the time and preaching at the time when this was so obvious. For us, it's not obvious. Maybe for somebody in the 17th century, it wasn't obvious. But when Chaitanya Charitamrita was published by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and at the time it was hard to find a copy. When he was trying to look for it for many years, couldn't find a copy. But then it was published, was distributed, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote commentaries on Chaitanya Charitamrita. It became so obvious that there is a problem, that some people, they will, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati put, sings glories of mundane mellows that are born of this dull material world. Prakrita rasa, Shuddha Bhakta Gayana, means pure devotee don't engage in enjoying the rasas of this world as if they were the transcendental rasas in the material, in the spiritual world. So it's okay. In cooking, like if you cook some exquisite preparation, say sweet rice, it's full of amazing flavor. You don't use white sugar. You put proper molasses or gur in it, and you use edible camphor. In the beginning, you put a little bit of camphor, and then the flavor of molasses. You don't feel the flavor of camphor in the end, and the flavor of molasses becomes so strong in the end. So you do it a masterpiece of Vedic cooking. Same, like you follow the recipe of Kshirachar Gopinath's temple, secret recipe, and you create this essentially nectar. And in the end, you just pour a bit of soy sauce on top. Non-vegetarian. Something that has a little bit of, or a non-vegetarian sauce from Japan. I don't want to know. I don't want to advertise it, but it's really popular these days. If you mix those two, it becomes a distasteful situation. It's extremely annoying for anybody except those who practice it. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote a whole series of verses. He hardly ever wrote many verses, but this case he went and he did it. He wrote some Prakritarasara Sikha, Bhiksha, Shishya Kayana, Ratibina E Rasa Tahi Guru Deyana. The true disciples never desire to ask their spiritual master for instructions regarding material rasas. And genuine spiritual master never gives his disciples any such material mellows, which are devoid of rati, which is transcendental attachment to the Lord. And very important instructions. Namarasadu vastu bhakta kahnu janena. Namarasa bheda ache bhakta kapu bolena. The Lord's real devotee never sees any difference between the holy name of Krishna and transcendental rasa. He doesn't see the difference. He doesn't make into different performance. Therefore, the devotee never says that there is difference between holy names and the mellows of devotion. So this is very important. Namarasa Bheda Ache Guru Shikshadeyana. So the bona fide spiritual master never teaches that there is a difference between the holy name and the actual rasa. So Srila Prabhupada may not have spent many hours trying to teach his disciples rasa, but he engaged them in the rasa of kirtan, and he gave once Bhagavad Purana, we were coming down the stairs in Vrindavan, he asked me a question, and it's one of those questions he asks. It's one of those questions that's you're not supposed to answer them. It's just the trigger questions. It's not the true questions. So he asks, so Why did Prabhupada would sing the midnight raga for his kirtan, even though it was a daytime? And this is the same raga that the gopis and Krishna are enjoying during the rasa dance. Why did he do that? And so, another question, you may ask, why did Prabhupada sing Jai Radha Madhava bhajan before Srimad Bhagavatam class? This bhajan is forbidden in Gaudiya Maths. Why did he do that? It's important to understand that Prabhupada gave everything. He gave an extreme depth without giving his disciples the mundane mellows. He was so focused on following Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that he could do that. Okay, I can pause here, and we have such a senior devotees here, and I'm embarrassed. Maybe you have something to add, and we can, if you add something without not questions but additions, then we can start with more junior devotees, because then they feel they can speak before the senior. Once the senior person starts saying something, then you obviously don't want to say anything because it's already said. So if somebody wants to say something, I don't know who is the most junior, probably me. But then you can add something if you want. Anybody? Thank you, Giriva Prabhu. You want to add something, Giriva Prabhu? Okay, it's additions at the moment. Before the questions, additional maybe comments. If I didn't cover something, maybe additional. Just say something, because that's the whole point. Just adding what I said.
You mentioned that Svarupa Damoda Swami is the personification of the potency. It was not, that's not how I understood it. I understood the Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī is the personification of Śrīmatī, and Shaka and Lalita and Shaka were first inventions.
Exactly.
So therefore it's said in the purport that Svarupa Damoda Swami is a direct expansion of Radharani, that helps the one experience the attitude of Radharani.
Okay.
I don't know if we can say that Svarupa Damodara is the personification of Radharani.
Exactly. You're correct. You're correct. It's a direct expansion. That's what Prabhupada.
Direct expansion of Radharani.
Yes. 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 Correct. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful. Any more additions? Any more? Any?
It's too esoteric to even ask questions.
Well, it's obviously the questions will not be esoteric. So.
It's very advanced.
Okay, thank you for correcting me. It is correct. It's not expansion, it's representation, representative of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī in this particular case. Yes. Mm, any other additions? No? No? Okay, we can move to the questions. Yeah, and it's the most interesting part. The last time the questions were really fiery, and let's see if we can go to the same level.
Did you say that embodied matter and otherwise song?
Yeah, they don't sing it.
Whether they sing it or not, they said it's forbidden song.
Things which are forbidden, they don't do. Yes. Otherwise, I would do so many things. In Gaudiya specifically, some quite different structure of the morning program songs exist than in ISKCON. For example, after the Gurvashtakam, they sing a different song dedicated to Radha Krishna. We don't do that. All our morning program is dedicated to, in fact, all the bhajans that we sing, except for Tulasi Puja, is dedicated to gurus. So it's all about Guru's mercy. I could even dare to say that Srila Prabhupada personally didn't introduce singing of Tulasi Puja. I dare to say that because there is no record. He asked Govinda Dasi to do that, but he didn't personally sing Tulasi Puja. But the song that we sing before Srimad Bhagavatam, and I was conscious when I mentioned this, it's a controversial topic, is quite esoteric. And there is a second reason why they wouldn't sing this song in Gaudiya Math is, and that's something probably it's not a very good advertisement for this song. Bhaktivedanta Thakur wrote Jai Radha Madhava in the melody that is used in Indian weddings. So in Indian weddings, there are very specific melodies, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur used that very emotional, beautiful melody for Jai Radha Madhava. And you would never hear this song in the Gaudiya Math. It's one of those kind of like, oh my God, this is so, it's probably not allowed, like mixture of mundane mellows. Some people in Gaudiya Math will be critical. One devotee, it was in 1995, he challenged Tamal Krishna Maharaj before the class. It was Gyanagamya, by the way. Gyanagamya, he was sitting in the class. It was 1995 or 1994. That was just before GBC meetings, were really heavy GBC meetings, 94. So Gyanagamya was challenging, did Prabhupada ever sing this Jai Radha Madhava with harmonium? It's true that in the recordings you don't hear it. And the harmonium is forbidden in Gaudiya Math. You cannot take harmonium and sit in Vyasasana and play Jai Radha Madhava. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he answered that, he explained, yes, I know what you're saying. But I was there, he said, personally, when we stopped on a route, and it wasn't once, it was many times. But we stopped on the route from Calcutta to Mayapur when we were driving in the car. And Srila Prabhupada personally took harmonium and was singing in front of the deities in that temple of Radha Madhava on the way from, you probably know this temple. Sometimes devotees stop in that temple and they take prasadam in the same place where Prabhupada used to take prasadam. There is a video of that. And there is a temple of Radha Madhava where Prabhupada would stop and sing Jai Radha Madhava with harmonium in front of the deities. So that was like the answer to the challenge, because not only we break the protocol and sing this mantra before the Bhagavatam, usually they don't, but we also do it on a harmonium, which is not allowed. So there's a double jeopardy, so to speak. So, my God, I don't know if I answered your question. I know you're very strict in policing my lecture. That's very nice. Thank you so much for doing this. And any other questions? Yeah.
Just to elaborate a little on this, I have no zero problem with the fact that we have different programs
Yes.
set by Prabhupada, and I only have a hard time to understand how can a song which has been written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur
Okay.
be that.
Okay. Well, actually, there are some songs which were in a songbook in ISKCON. And that's an interesting one. Achyutananda, following, and he was very close with Gaudiya Math standards. He brought some very esoteric songs in the first published BBT songbook. And Prabhupada, according to what I heard from Harikesh Swami, that Prabhupada was very critical of this particular songbook. He forbid it, and they had to revise and take out some of this esoteric bhajans, which were written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Raghunatha Dasa Thakur. How can it be? And the answer is actually given in this purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita, in a sense that Svarupa Damoda would sing those songs, and some of the very esoteric songs for Lord Chaitanya, Gita Govinda, for example. You will not, unless you are part of some esoteric seminar in Radhadesh, you would not sing Gita Govinda in the temple of ISKCON, because it's filled with things which are in our mind will be transposed into mundane rasa. We will listen to it, but it will trigger associations with our sinful past. I'm not saying that you have a sinful past. I have a sinful past. So the relationship with Radha Krishna, when they're described in a very intimate way, they can trigger emotions which are not meant to be pronounced, except in the situations like a very expert expansion or not expansion, representative of Radharani, stimulates the mood of separation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in these cases, yes, why not? You can even sing Kalidasa's poetry, you can sing Jayadeva Goswami's confidential bhajans. And there are some confidential bhajans in the case of even Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Well, for example, Druma. Anyway, there is a whole series of his explanation, and that's a very important part. Series of his explanation of his sadhana, of Siddha Pranali sadhana that he was practicing. Now, he was doing things according to what he was given by his spiritual master. We don't do that. We don't follow Siddha Pranali line. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati follows the line of, or not Vakreshwara Pandit, we follow the line of Haridas Thakur. So we are chanting more mantra, we are not following that sadhana. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati didn't follow that sadhana, we don't follow that sadhana. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur did. So some things which Bhaktivinoda Thakur have written are not publicized so much. Another example of some of things that he did that we kind of like shy of publishing, at least if you're very strict following Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, would be Krishna Samhita. The Krishna Samhita was written for specific audience, and some statements of Krishna Samhita are meant to convert Brahma Samaj intellectual elite of Bengal. It was not meant for sadhakas who know that timeline of Bhagavatam. You don't need to edit timeline of Bhagavatam. We don't need to adjust details so that it will not shock us. We don't need to edit out Radha Krishna's relationship from presentation of philosophy. We follow Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada, and some parts of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for example, Krishna Samhita. We don't publicize, we don't distribute. But some devotees may do, and they may want to write it. It will not become a mainstream thing. Well, that's just my explanation of that. Thank you for. It is challenging because it looks like somebody's editing acharyas, isn't it? You're not allowed to touch this. You're allowed to do this, but it is very important that understand that acharyas gave certain things in a certain context, and somebody may feel you will not get it, so we take it out. Now, a very controversial editing which is you will not even hear in any other class anywhere in ISKCON. But if you read first canto that Prabhupada wrote himself before the editing came, he uses the word Negro in the first canto, not in a favorable context. And you're doing service to the spiritual master by taking out this just one word or one sentence. An example, probably a very challenging example, but I'm trying to divert the heat. It's a hard one. Anyway, that's just, sometimes you need to edit, and Prabhupada is grateful for that. And it's very challenging for the editors. I know how challenging it is for Jayadvaita Swami. He did so much work, and then, he had like a whole committee of devotees. Some of them not even situated in proper ashram, but they editing his editing. So he may feel a little sensitive. It's not an easy situation. But it's interesting that some things that Prabhupada wrote, you want to edit. You need to edit. Prabhupada did say himself in the lecture in Mayapur, it's recorded, that somebody read his own purport and he said, no, this is not correct. We should change it. There is another verse that Harisauri mentions, that he was reading the 8th canto. He came to this verse. He came to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, I have a little problem with this verse. It contradicts what is written in the beginning of the chapter. And Prabhupada looked at it and he said, oh yeah, it's right. And I said, I was just trying to get to the scientists. I was trying to smash the scientists. I was thinking that's a good opportunity. You should write to BBT and take this purport out. Okay. It doesn't work like that. Just because somebody writes to BBT, they will not take it out. But it's there. There's a record that Prabhupada wanted some things edited, and that's a fact. So, and specifically Ishopanishad. Like everybody talks about Bhagavad Gita, but what about Ishopanishad? The Ishopanishad was published before Prabhupada came to America. It was already, manuscript was there. So if you take and bring it to the original manuscript, you're obviously not editing, you're improving it. It's not an editing of a book which was published during Prabhupada's lifetime. That's why it's forever and ever. It cannot be changed. But there is a manuscript that Prabhupada uses, and you can just compare it, and you see that there are some mistakes. We have to fix it. It's not a problem at all. So that's just giving you the. I'm trying to. It is quite common in Gaudiya to forbid some things that we do in ISKCON, including harmonium and Jaya Radha Madhavan, and we are actually more advanced than them. It's by Prabhupada's mercy.
Forbidden is quite strong word.
Maybe it's never used, bro. That's a better way. That's good. Thank you. I really appreciate your feedback because it makes it more interesting. Thank you so much. Okay, sit down, please. Thank you so much. Um, and yeah, okay. So I mean, it's a difficult topic. I tried to do it as far as I could. I went to deep waters answering the questions. Maybe somebody wants to correct me again. That would be nice. Yes, please.
Maybe a completely different angle.
Yes, please.
What I find very inspiring about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes is that he didn't come alone, and he really accepted the help of confidential devotees like Svarupa Damoda, Swami Prabhupada.
Yes.
They helped him to go deeper into his internal meditation, what it feels like to be in Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī's mood. But when he was in his prior pastime, then he needed the help of Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur,
Yeah.
Advaita Acharya, in order to spread
Yes.
So for every internal and external purpose that he came, he surrounded himself with devotees who could support him.
Yes.
So if Lord Chaitanya himself, who is Radha Krishna, accepts support and to go deeper into certain areas, it's also very inspiring for us to always surround ourselves by devotees who support, to go deeper. In other words, without the help of other devotees, we will never be able to either externally or internally accomplish anything. So for me, that's what Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī came. Krishna, Harmony, Krishna, Krishna, Sarvabhauma.
Yeah, it's his astras.
And then he came with all the internal associates and weapons. And
Yeah.
it's all devotees and expansions and help.
Yes.
So we should not be shy to ask help. Because Lord Chaitanya will be accepted all the help.
Thank you. That's such a realized words. Thank you so much. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Damodar ki jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Krishna.
This is the end of recitations. And that's it.